Conversing is produced and distributed in partnership with Comet Magazine and Fuller Seminary. I'm Mark Labberton. Welcome to Conversing. In between my longer conversations with people who fascinate and inspire and challenge me, I share a short personal reflection, a focused episode that brings you the ideas, stories, questions, ponderings, and perspectives that animate Conversing and give voice to the purpose and heart of the show. Thanks for listening with me. One of the things I'm often struck with when I listen to someone is the clarity with which they're telling me who they are, what they value, how they think, what they've experienced. And in the context of that, I want to lean toward that because I do have an appetite for a desire to understand and receive all that they're giving. But one of the things that has also come up, and it does regularly, is I am not them. This is their experience, and I am sitting here in my body and my experience. And the two things may have shared overlapping concerns, but actually deep differentiation at the same time. That's part of the gift of listening, is not just looking for the similarities. Tell me all the ways that we're alike. That can be fun and enjoyable, of course. But what I also find enriching is getting evidence of all the ways that we're not alike and finding that an invitation to what I mean by adventure, the adventure of knowing another person, the adventure of being invited into cognitive space or emotional space or experiential space in which someone else's life is allowing me to go with them on this adventure that I perhaps might never have taken, but which they may be experts in. And I get to ride on their storytelling and into their adventure of life. And that differentiation is part of the great gift. Now, it's also part of the maturing then that happens when I realize sometimes how breathtakingly different our experience has been. And having many friends whose life experience is dramatically different than my own has been expanding to my own heart and my own mind. And I want for myself, and I want for my sons, and I want for our family, and I want for other people that I know and care about, this same kind of experience of stepping into someone else's experience and letting that differentiation be a gift, not a threat, not a danger, a gift, and to receive it in as deep a way as I can create opportunity for. I love that dynamic because it gives us a chance to be more than our mere selves when we could become much bigger people, much more developed hearts and minds, compassion, mercy, justice, all is enlivened by that kind of experience. The fun of that kind of differentiation then is that it makes it clear that we are each coming at this conversation from different life experiences, different bodies, different backgrounds, different contexts. And the volley that then can develop out of good listening is a volley of exchange where they share their particular story or perspective, and I have the opportunity to do likewise. And in that exchange, there is a deepening of self-understanding and other understanding, but also a testing of, are we really understanding one another? Are we really hearing what the other's saying? Are we pushing it, the topic, for example, are we pushing it further, deeper, wider, more creatively, more imaginatively, more humorously, whatever it might be. But that volleying experience of the back and forth between two conversation partners is something that I find really enlivening and continues to be part of the wonder to me of listening, because so often by listening, the volleys that follow are really different than by presuming. And often listening is the antidote to presuming. If I listen well, then the lack of my own presumption is going to increase because I'm given plenty of data points from really actually hearing what they are saying, not presuming that I know what they're going to say. Sometimes listening is just an excuse for being quiet while we develop our own lines that we're preparing to say to the other person. That is not listening. That's something else. That's about plotting and planning, or it's about fear, or it's about anxiety, or it's about impression or something. But it's not about really energetically and earnestly listening. Hidden in that is a lot of presumption about what's really happening. Whereas I would say the gift of listening is the laying down of presumption. I don't know you. I don't know what you would say about this or that or the other thing. I don't understand how you have experienced life. I don't share in that emotional moment. I don't have that same vocabulary. I don't have that same life experience. So if I lay that down and say, I really come as a genuine listener, learner to you, then I'm delighted by what I discover. And so often it is utterly different than my presumption might have imagined. So, sometimes internally, sometimes externally, I have exposed my presumption in ways that I have found embarrassing and regretful. I can think of times when I've gotten caught in my thought that I knew somebody in a way that I simply did not know. And what I've said or what I've presumed about them was just wrong. And by the way I asked the question or made the statement, it was clear that I had my own little perception going on, which they were thankfully ready and willing and able to call me on. So that was really good. But what it taught me further is, okay, Mark, this is not helpful to be presumptive. And the less we can be presumptive toward one another, the greater the possibility of knowledge. And again, listening is one of the great ways of unmasking presumption by simply giving us new and different and often unexpected data points. We'll be able to see where the conversation is really going, who the person really is, and what we're going to then say in response. It's understandable that in training that goes on around communication, that it is clearly important to respond to what someone has said to you, to reflect that you've really heard them and understood what they're saying. What's more interesting, though, than simply that, like saying back to a person, so what you just said is that the sky is blue, instead of just saying, so you think the sky is blue, actually what's much more interesting is, what about the sky fascinates you? What is it about your imagination that's awakened by that? How do you experience the reality of life in a blue sky? I say that just as a crude analogy to say it's the genuine depth of the volley back and forth that says, I actually really heard you, I've absorbed it, and I'm making a full-on response back that reflects that I take you and whatever you've just said seriously, which could mean to say with uproarious laughter, or it could be with comments or questions or other things that demonstrate that I haven't just heard words, but in a self-differentiated way, I'm bringing back to you who I am by how I'm responding to whatever it is that you may have said. These things to me are critical in leadership because communication is a miracle and not a frequent one. Conversing is produced and distributed in partnership with Comment Magazine and Fuller Seminary. Peter Labberton is our engineer and editor. Evan Rosa is our producer. For more information about Comment Magazine, visit comment.org, where you can subscribe, read the current magazine issue, and browse their archive. Fuller Seminary is an evangelical, multi-denominational graduate institution committed to providing indispensable formational education for diverse Christian leaders everywhere. For information, visit fuller.edu. I'm your host, Mark Labberton. Thanks for listening with me.